The power of conversation, community, presence, and intentionality. Last semester, I studied abroad in Uganda. It was challenging, it was impactful, and it was a growing experience where I learned a lot about community and presence and intentionality from the culture and everyday life. In the Ugandan culture, I noticed that it wasn't really normal when you were walking to and from places to talk on your phone or eat while you walk or just be on your phone while you walked. It wasn't really culturally acceptable. I started to notice this presence and intentionality as I would walk to and from home and school, have face-to-face conversations with each other, and taking tea. One experience in particular that redefined my work was painting. And what I mean painting was when I was at my host family, I was with my auntie and her grandson, and we were sitting on the floor just painting mandalas. I spoke English, they spoke Luganda or a different tribal language. It really impacted and surprised me how we both spoke different languages and there was a language barrier. But we were able to have nonverbal conversations. Art connected us. And I could really tell that we were both present with each other. This gave me a new appreciation for presence, intentionality, and conversations in everyday life with friends and strangers. By presence, I mean being mentally, physically, and emotionally present to the person you are with and the environment you are in. It's that way of being intentional. So I started practicing this habit of being intentional and present, walking to and from, and as it started, I found my day just in a different place, an atmosphere, when I would start with being present and intentional, where I was at and who I was with. Sometimes it started with the Red Sea. This is where I would cross to get to and from school and home. During the rainy season, it looks like this. On the left, there are some pebbles. And that is the way we would cross. If you were wearing boots, then you would so kindly help someone, maybe a friend or a stranger. This was one way I got to know a lot of people. I got to know a little kid. He wrote a song and he taught it to me. There was many times where I found being present and intentional through having tea, preparing a meal together, walking to and from, and just being in nature, drinking juice and G-nuts, and community. When I returned home and I returned to campus, and as the semester began, I found myself starting to take my phone out again when I'd walk to and from places. When I didn't really want to communicate with someone, or when I was at tea or coffee with someone, I would just take it out. Or when I had a little second, and I didn't like it. I liked the way of being present and intentional gave me and made me feel. It made me feel just being there and being able to fully be there. And so I decided I would challenge myself whenever I was walking to or from, phone would go in the pocket. Whenever I would be at a table or really with people and we'd be talking, it would be in the pocket. I didn't want any distraction, but there was a bit of a challenge. It was challenging, but I also found it hard and frustrating sometimes. Sometimes I'd be talking to my friends and they would have their phone out. And I was just like, I want to talk to you. And it was hard. But then also from being abroad, I noticed and realized the blessing of technology and in being able to communicate with people from far away. But I also was like, there's a point for me to where that healthy line can be easily crossed. So where is that line? I was asking myself. Next, in all of this, I was thinking, what do I want to do? I want to create something with the community, as community was really important to me. So community art. If you would have asked me about 5 months ago, what is community art? I would have said, let's get some people, some paint, let's do it. But recently I have had the opportunity to create some murals for St. Cyprian Church. And this is where reality struck, and I realized working communally in order to prove participation, a sense of agency, can be complicated. Where community art is created and is creating with a community involving, collaborating, and participating in making something together. During those murals, I discovered how hard it is to work together with a community in a time frame. But I also learned and continue to learn how when we are working with the community, to being open, flexible, but also having a balance of structure, and how important it is to create in that process. From this, I kind of decided this wasn't the area that I wanted to focus on, but I still wanted to focus on community art. I came across an artist, Rikrit Trivanja, who in an old office served food to the people as they would walk in. So he started serving them food, and then his friends came and helped him. And as he realized that, and as his friends came and helped him, he started to notice that the viewers and the artist's line was being blurred, which I found so fascinating. Because it was talked about how we all eat. So when he would feed them, they would all start talking to each other. And I just found that so fascinating. So that kind of got me thinking about what do I want to do for my process and how do I want to do this. So I started asking people and inviting them into conversations, asking them, what questions have you had in a conversation in the past week, and write it down and then have a conversation with someone about it. Through that, I got popsicle sticks. But then I kept asking myself, okay, these popsicle sticks aren't the work, they're the catalyst. And I kind of thought about that throughout my entire process. From that, I collected the questions and then cut them out with vinyl and put them on plexiglass because conversations are everywhere. So I started thinking about photographing them in different locations. From the vinyl that I had left over, I found really interesting in how each thing that I had seemed to relate to what I was doing. From the negatives to having different types of conversations, from being present to not being present, and then to the different locations. So I chose different locations because conversations are good, bad, easy, hard, sad, happy, and so much more. From a courtroom to a picnic table to a path in the park to the beach and the water. Kind of a conflict situation. But as I was doing this, I realized that there was something missing. My intentions of being present and intentional seemed to be not present. It seemed that with all the different types of questions on it, it was taking away with what I was trying to get across. After receiving feedback, I decided to take some of the questions off. They recommended putting one question on, being displayed at once. Seemed to be taking away from what I was trying to do. So I wanted to encourage, so what was I trying to do? I was trying to encourage people into being present and intentional in conversations and in the environment you are in. And having one question on each plexiglass, I noticed and felt an invitation of being present and intentional in each conversation and in the environment it was in. The variety of locations and places of the placements of the plexiglass of the vinyl represents the wide range of conversations. So then there's this one, directions. Have a conversation. So in the previous photos, I talked about how it's about conversations that have been had and the importance of where conversations are. And this one is an invitation of conversations in that conversation to be present and intentional. Directions. Have a conversation. It's simple. It's inviting. Lastly, the blank piece of plexiglass is an invitation to future conversations and resembles the space and opportunity of inviting yourself into being present and intentional in the conversation. But that's what it resembles. It resembles that opportunity. Inviting yourself and inviting people to be present. We have conversations all the time. But this is an invitation to have a conversation or a moment just to being present in that. Finding yourself being fully there. And that's what my work is about. My work is about an invitation and habit of being present and intentional in past, present, and future conversations, involving questions that may be hard, easy, seem to be unrelated to you as a person, and exciting. And we may tend to ignore or push those questions away. But this is an invitation to embrace the uncomfortability, to embrace being present, embrace being intentional where you are and who you are with. Presence and intentionality has no limits. You don't need to speak the same language. Just invite yourself to be in the moment. Thank you.